You take a breath without thinking about it. You take another one while watching this video. And another one while your heart keeps beating quietly in the background. Breathing feels automatic, harmless, and safe. After all, air is invisible, free, and everywhere. But what if the air you breathe every day is quietly shaping your mind, draining your energy, affecting your sleep, and slowly changing your body without you ever realizing it? What if the most important thing keeping you alive is also influencing how well you live and almost no one is paying attention to it? Most people think danger looks loud and obvious. Smoke, fire, explosions, or strong smells. But the truth is, the most powerful influences on the human body are silent, invisible, constant, and unavoidable. Air is one of them. You can stop eating for weeks. You can stop drinking for days. But you cannot stop breathing for more than a few minutes. That means whatever is in the air has direct access to your blood, your brain, and every single cell in your body, all day. Every day, the idea that air is clean or dirty feels simple, but reality is far more complex. The air around you is not empty. It is a moving mixture of gases, particles, moisture, chemicals, and microscopic matter. Some of it is natural. Some of it is man-made. Some of it helps you live. And some of it quietly interferes with how your body functions. The scary part is not that polluted air exists. The scary part is that you can be surrounded by harmful air and feel absolutely normal until the damage has already begun. When you breathe in, oxygen travels deep into your lungs, crosses into your bloodstream, and reaches your brain in seconds. Your brain alone uses about 20% of the oxygen you inhale. That means the quality of the air you breathe directly affects how clearly you think, how quickly you react, how well you focus, and even how stable your emotions feel. Low-quality air doesn't just affect lungs. It affects decision-making, memory, mood, and long-term brain health. Most people assume air pollution is only an outdoor problem. Busy roads, factories, smog-filled cities. But studies show that indoor air can often be more polluted than outdoor air. Homes, offices, schools, and vehicles trap particles, chemicals, and gases in closed spaces. Cleaning products, furniture materials, cooking fumes, dust, mold, and even human breathing itself slowly change the air inside rooms. And because people spend most of their lives indoors, the air inside these spaces becomes one of the most influential environmental factors in daily life. Think about how often you feel tired without knowing why, or how your head feels heavy in closed rooms, or how concentration becomes harder late in the day. Many people blame stress, screens, or lack of sleep, but air quality quietly plays a role. High levels of carbon dioxide, even at non-toxic levels, can reduce cognitive performance. Poor ventilation allows invisible pollutants to accumulate, making the brain work harder just to maintain basic focus. Children are especially affected. Their lungs are still developing. Their brains are more sensitive. Long-term exposure to polluted air has been linked to reduced attention, slower cognitive development, and increased respiratory issues. But adults are not immune. Long exposure can increase inflammation in the body, worsen heart health, and reduce overall resilience. The body adapts, but adaptation does not mean protection. It often means silent strain. The most unsettling part is how normal this all feels. Humans evolved breathing natural outdoor air, moving constantly, surrounded by plants and open space. Modern life changed that rapidly. Enclosed rooms, sealed buildings, artificial materials, and constant energy use altered the air environment faster than our biology could adapt. Yet because the effects are slow and subtle, they blend into daily life unnoticed. Air also carries information beyond chemistry. It carries temperature, humidity, and movement. Stale air feels heavy, not because it weighs more, but because it lacks circulation. Fresh air feels energizing not because it is magical, but because it supports the natural rhythm of breathing and oxygen exchange. The body responds instantly to these changes. Even if the mind does not consciously notice, there is also a psychological dimension. Humans associate fresh air with safety and freedom. Open spaces signal survival. Closed, stagnant air signals confinement. This connection runs deep in the nervous system. Poor air quality can increase anxiety levels, restlessness, and irritability without any obvious cause. The body senses that something is off, even when the brain cannot identify the reason. Another hidden factor is particulate matter, microscopic particles small enough to enter the bloodstream. These particles come from dust, smoke, vehicle emissions, construction, and even indoor activities like cooking or burning candles. You cannot see them. You cannot smell most of them, but they can travel from lungs into organs, increasing inflammation and stress responses throughout the body. Air is not just what you breathe, it is what your body constantly negotiates with. Every breath is an exchange. Oxygen comes in, carbon dioxide goes out. But when the balance is disturbed by pollution, poor ventilation, or chemical exposure, the body compensates by working harder. Over time, this compensation costs energy. That energy loss shows up as fatigue, reduced immunity, and slower recovery from stress. The modern world rewards productivity, speed, and constant engagement. But clean air supports clarity.com and endurance. This mismatch creates a silent tension. People push their bodies harder while unknowingly breathing air that makes everything more difficult. It is like trying to think clearly while slowly holding your breath, not enough to panic, but enough to strain. What makes this topic so important is that air is not optional. You cannot avoid it. You cannot pause it. You cannot replace it. It follows you into your bedroom, your workplace, your car, and even your sleep. That means small improvements in air quality can have surprisingly large effects on how you feel, think, and function every single day. Understanding air is not about fear. It is about awareness. The moment you become aware of how powerful air is, you begin to notice its influence everywhere. How stepping outside clears your head. How opening a window changes the mood of a room. How certain spaces feel draining without obvious reason. These are not coincidences. They are signals. Air has always been silent. That is its power. And its danger. Because what we cannot see, we often ignore. But the air you breathe today shapes how you live tomorrow. Not dramatically, not instantly, but steadily, breath by breath, as the air moves in and out of your lungs. It doesn't just keep you alive, it quietly shapes how your brain operates. Your brain is extremely sensitive to oxygen levels, carbon dioxide concentration, and airborne chemicals. Even small changes can influence alertness, reaction time, and emotional balance. This is why certain rooms make you feel sleepy, unfocused, or mentally slow, even when you are well rested. The brain doesn't complain loudly when air quality drops. It simply performs a little worse, and most people accept that decline as normal. Carbon dioxide is a perfect example. It is not toxic at low levels, and it is a natural part of breathing. But when it accumulates in enclosed spaces with poor ventilation, it reduces the amount of fresh oxygen reaching the brain. Studies have shown that higher carbon dioxide levels can impair decision-making, reduce strategic thinking, and slow cognitive processing. This means that long meetings, crowded classrooms, and closed offices may quietly reduce mental performance. Not because of boredom, but because of the air itself. Sleep is another area where air quality plays a powerful but underestimated role. During sleep, breathing patterns slow, and the body focuses on repair and memory consolidation. If the air in the bedroom is stale, dry, polluted, or low in oxygen circulation, sleep quality suffers. People may fall asleep easily but wake up feeling unrefreshed, heavy, or foggy. Poor air quality can increase nighttime awakenings, reduce deep sleep, and even worsen snoring or breathing interruptions. Many people try to fix sleep problems by adjusting routines, reducing screen time, or changing mattresses. While those things matter, air is often ignored. A well-ventilated sleeping space with clean air supports deeper sleep and better oxygen delivery to the brain. This improves mood, memory, and energy levels the next day. When air quality improves, sleep often improves naturally, without effort. The connection between air and productivity is especially important in modern life. Offices are designed for efficiency, but often at the cost of ventilation. Sealed buildings trap heat, chemicals, and carbon dioxide to conserve energy. While this may save costs, it reduces cognitive sharpness. Workers may feel mentally drained faster, struggle to concentrate, or rely on caffeine to stay alert. Over time, this constant strain adds up. Creativity and problem-solving also depend on air quality. The brain needs oxygen to form connections and generate new ideas. Fresh air supports mental flexibility. Stale air promotes mental rigidity. This is why people often report better thinking while walking outside or opening windows. It is not just a change of scenery, it is a biological response to improved air conditions. Air also affects emotional regulation. Poor air quality has been linked to increased irritability, anxiety, and low mood. The nervous system responds to environmental stresses, and polluted or stagnant air is perceived as a subtle threat. This keeps the body in a slightly heightened stress state. Over time, this can contribute to emotional exhaustion, reduced patience, and difficulty relaxing. Children in schools are particularly vulnerable to these effects. Their developing brains require stable oxygen levels for learning and attention. Classrooms with poor ventilation can negatively affect academic performance, even when teaching quality is high. This means that air quality is not just a health issue, it is an educational issue. Better air supports better learning. Air also interacts with the immune system. Polluted air can increase inflammation, making the body more reactive to stress and illness. This means that people exposed to poor air may get sick more often, recover more slowly, and feel physically weaker under pressure. Clean air reduces this background strain, allowing the immune system to function efficiently rather than defensively. Another overlooked factor is humidity. Air that is too dry irritates airways, dries out skin, and increases vulnerability to viruses. Air that is too humid promotes mold growth and dust mites. Both extremes affect breathing, comfort, and sleep quality. Balanced humidity supports lung function and reduces respiratory irritation. This balance is part of air quality, not separate from it. Air pollution does not always come from outside sources. Everyday indoor activities contribute silently. Cooking, burning candles, using sprays, and even furniture materials release particles and chemicals into the air. Over time, these accumulate, especially in closed environments. People often associate clean with visual cleanliness, but air cleanliness is invisible. A room can look spotless and still contain harmful air. What makes air so dangerous when neglected is its constancy. You breathe over 20,000 times a day. That means small exposures become massive over time. Unlike food or water, air is rarely filtered by choice. You accept what surrounds you. This makes awareness critical. The more time you spend in a space, the more important its air quality becomes. Modern technology has made life more convenient but also more enclosed. Screens keep us indoors. Climate control seals us in. Transportation isolates us from natural air movement. While these advances bring comfort, they also disconnect us from the airflow patterns our bodies evolved with. Reintroducing fresh air into daily life is not a luxury. It is a biological need. The body constantly signals when air quality is poor, but these signals are subtle. Headaches, heavy eyes, restlessness, difficulty focusing, mild anxiety, fatigue without explanation. These are often dismissed or but when air improves, these symptoms often fade quietly. Without dramatic intervention, understanding the role of air changes how you view your environment. A room is no longer just walls and furniture. It is an atmosphere your body interacts with continuously. Improving that atmosphere improves everything that happens inside it: thinking, resting, working, and recovering. And recovering.air does not shout when something is wrong. It whispers, and unless you listen, it keeps influencing you in the background, shaping your days without permission. Over long periods of time, the air you breathe shapes your health in ways that are easy to ignore but difficult to reverse. Unlike injuries or sudden illness, air-related damage does not announce itself clearly. It accumulates slowly, blending into aging, stress, and lifestyle changes. This is why people often underestimate its impact. But research continues to show that long-term exposure to polluted or poorly circulated air increases the risk of respiratory disease, heart problems, reduced lung capacity, and even cognitive decline. These outcomes are not the result of dramatic exposure, but of quiet, repeated breathing in environments that strain the body just enough to matter. The lungs are designed to filter air, but they are not perfect shields. Fine particles pass through, gases dissolve into the bloodstream. The body tries to neutralize what it can, but constant exposure overwhelms natural defenses. Over time, inflammation becomes the default state, rather than an emergency response. This background inflammation drains energy, slows recovery, and weakens resilience. People feel tired more often, get sick more easily, and bounce back more slowly from physical or emotional stress. The brain, too, carries the long-term cost. Chronic exposure to poor air quality has been linked to reduced memory performance and increased risk of neurological issues later in life. This does not mean air alone determines your future, but it contributes quietly, shaping the environment in which your brain ages. Clean air supports clarity. Polluted air adds friction. Over decades, that friction matters. What makes this especially important is that many air-related risks are not dramatic enough to force immediate change. People adapt. They get used to heavy rooms, low energy, restless sleep. Adaptation feels like normal life. But adaptation often means functioning below potential. The body lowers expectations to survive rather than thrive. Awareness is what breaks this pattern. The good news is that air quality is one of the most controllable environmental factors in daily life. You may not control the weather or the city you live in, but you do influence the air in your immediate surroundings. Simple actions create real change. Opening windows regularly allows stale air to escape. Improving ventilation reduces carbon dioxide buildup. Reducing unnecessary chemical use lowers indoor pollution. Allowing natural airflow restores balance. Plants are often associated with clean air, and while their impact is modest, they contribute psychologically and biologically to a healthier environment. More important than decoration is circulation. Moving air prevents stagnation. Fresh air supports natural breathing rhythms. Air purifiers, when used correctly, reduce fine particles and allergens, especially in enclosed spaces. These are not luxury items. They are tools that support long-term well-being. Awareness also changes behavior naturally. When you understand that air affects sleep, you become more mindful of bedroom conditions. When you understand that air affects focus, you become more aware of workspaces. You stop blaming yourself for fatigue that comes from environmental strain. Instead of pushing harder, you improve the environment. This shift reduces burnout and supports sustainable energy. There is something deeply human about the need for fresh air. Throughout history, open spaces symbolized freedom, safety, and renewal. Crowded, stagnant air symbolized danger. This instinct remains wired into the nervous system. Modern life often overrides it, but the body never forgets. When you give it clean air, it responds with calm, clarity, and strength. Air also reminds us of connection. You do not breathe alone. Every breath you take becomes part of the environment for others. This shared resource links individual health with collective responsibility. Cleaner air improves not only personal well-being, but community health. It reduces strain on healthcare systems, improves learning outcomes, and supports productivity. Caring about air is caring about life itself. Perhaps the most powerful realization is how quickly the body responds when air improves. Unlike many lifestyle changes that take weeks or months, better air can improve sleep, focus, and mood within days. This immediate feedback is a reminder of how deeply air influences us. It is not abstract. It is personal. You may not be able to control every breath you take, but you can control your awareness. And awareness changes choices. Choices change environments. Environments shape lives. The air you breathe today becomes part of who you are tomorrow. The air does not lie out of malice. It lies through invisibility. Because you cannot see it, you forget to question it. But once you understand its power, you stop taking it for granted. You stop assuming that feeling tired is normal, that foggy thinking is unavoidable, that restless sleep is just life. You begin to notice when air supports you and when it works against you. This knowledge is not meant to create fear. It is meant to restore balance. Breathing should support life, not quietly drain it. When air is clean, moving, and alive, the body responds with strength, clarity, and calm. That is how humans are meant to live. So the next time you take a breath, remember that it is more than survival. It is information. It is influence. It is connection. And it is power, silent, invisible, and constant. The air you breathe is shaping you. Now you are finally aware of it.